Good morning, everyone. And for anyone who might be joining from overseas, good evening, everyone. And welcome to Uncorked Switch channel with the Uncoder. Today, we are going to have a special episode where we're talking to our Hackathon winner. You might remember a couple weeks ago, we had our Hackathon showcase. It was one of our most attended Twitch sessions because everyone was so excited to see what people were able to create really fast using Uncork. And today we have the winner of that hackathon who won by audience vote. And I want to introduce him to everybody. It is Pushparaj. Pushparaj, why don't you say hello to everyone?
Yeah, hi everyone. Good morning to US folks and good evening to IST ones. Yeah.
All right, great. So yeah, I mean, you're getting to be a regular on these Twitch channels. You know, you might be, you can take over my job at some point and run a channel yourself at this rate. You're a pro. So cool. So today's focus, the big part of the episode, is going to be diving deeper into what it is Pushparaj had built, because we're only spent about 5 minutes per hackathon submission when we did that episode. So we're going to deep dive into it. Before we do that, I just want to ask you a few questions, Pushparaj. Let folks learn a little bit more about you and how you got into building Uncork. So why don't you just say, before you started working at, I guess we'll start with this. What's your current role and how did that lead to building Uncork?
Yeah, sure. So I graduated last year in electronics background from engineering college, and then I joined Persistent Systems through campus placement. And the first thing I learned from campus placement, I got trained on Uncork. So since then, my journey is building Uncork for last 10, 11 months, and it's been great, definitely.
Cool. And so just tell us a little more. What does Persistent Systems do?
Yeah, so Persistent System is, as you know, it's a service-based company developing various technologies. So one of the thing is we have IBA, Intelligent Business Unit, and in that we have a division for Uncock technology. So we have many projects going on. So one of the project I'm working on, and maybe I've also worked on a couple of pre-sales POCs and helping other folks on with other projects as well. So I work as a software developer and help my leads, architects, and other folks on all Uncock technologies.
Wow. So there's a whole division of Persistent just for Uncork development.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. That's what we love to hear. The companies like Persistent is taking this, very seriously and using it as a core part of their portfolio offerings to their customers. So you said you studied, was it electrical engineering?
Electronics and communications.
Electronics and communications. So, that's not directly software development, but now you're finding yourself building a lot of, web applications. How did you take your education and apply that toward building an Uncork?
Yeah, sure. So basically, electronics is not directly oriented, as you said, to coding technologies, but we learn a couple of technologies like Python, Java, and my final year project was in fact based on a web page on Python. So basically, it was NLP and those technologies. But something, in college we did not learn more about low code, no code. But this is something when we came to industry that was something really new, and we excited about to learn it, and we took it positively. So engineering helps us to understand analytics, analytical logic, the business, the flow of it. So that definitely helps in Uncock, because here we don't write codes. We are more oriented what business requires. So configuration, analysis of the problem, that definitely helps, and engineering has proved and helped me to achieve that.
Cool. So, and you said, so then you left school, you joined Persistent, started building with Uncork. You said you've been doing it for about 11 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
Next month I'll be completing a year.
All right. Well, congratulations, early congratulations on 1 year of being an Uncork creator. So, through that journey, I mean, how long did it take you until you really felt like you were, really, really, really good at building with Uncork? I'll put it that way.
Oh well, I even don't say right now I'm really good. It's always a learning process. So, but yeah, I started with associate configurator program. So my leads helped me to learn, and I was always open. They were always open to me to ask questions and all. So that helped me in initial days. Later, then always that community platform that helps. So being active on community platform, answering questions to others. So that helps to do your own R&D and come up with stuff. So that definitely helps. And then the SME status, so that definitely motivates to learn more deeper, dive deeper. So then then professional configurator. So all these steps, if you see, it's step by step. So once you start doing it, you will feel like diving deeper and deeper. So that definitely helps. And yeah, I was getting good projects internally in Persistent. So applying what I've learned from community in the projects definitely helped me to grasp the thing in a much faster way.
Got it. So so you took some academy certifications. You're very active on the community. That's awesome. So everyone check out community.uncork.com, check out academy.uncork.com. If you don't have your certifications and you build it on Uncork, probably want to get them, especially if there are companies that have entire divisions of people building with Uncork. Having that certification on LinkedIn might help you down the line. So aside from taking certifications and being active in community, whether you're just looking for answers there or contributing answers yourselves, what is like one other piece of advice that you would give somebody who is starting to work in Uncork and in order to help them grow?
Basically, don't restrict to yourself to community questions or academy. Try something of your own, like try to integrate some API or try to build some kind of POC. So when you try to do something new of your own, it will help to understand how to solve those problems on Uncork. So that definitely helps, and try to use best practices, then for performance improvement or data manipulation. So that definitely helps us. So we should keep on something trying new and new, not restricting to what project asks us or what company is asking us. So that
Gotcha.
will definitely improve us.
Yeah, I mean that's what I love about Uncork is it's so easy and so accessible to just experiment and build cool integrations, plug into any API you can really find in the world, and just have fun. Because I always found as a developer myself, when I worked on something that I was deeply interested in and a subject that I was deeply interested in, I was a lot more motivated and interested in doing it. So whether that's sports, music, technology, something like that. Is that kind of how you went about it? Like you found some things you're interested in and saw how you can build against it in Uncork?
You mean what I like other than Uncork and all?
No, I was just, yeah, sure. Yeah. What are your interests outside of Uncork?
Sure.
And have you ever thought about building something in Uncork related to those interests?
Other than Uncork, I've worked on some other technologies. So, one of the thing was my final year project, wherein we tried to make a chatbot. So, chatbot for interviews basics. Like the way we are going right now, we tried to make the similar thing in Python, and we were trying to do it through NLP, natural language processing. So, I was trying to do something on Uncork, but I have not yet tried it. So, let me see if I get chance and in future I do
Yeah,
something.
I mean, I imagine you're very busy with the work you have with Uncork. Finding time for that stuff is always hard.
Yeah, yeah. LLC, but yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned before, you said following best practices obviously is a
Correct.
good thing. Is there like maybe one or two best practices that you would say of all of the best practices, this is the best and you absolutely must adhere to it?
There are 4 5 main things which we must follow. First of all, maybe the naming practice, like being you name the components, you name the module, you put in the text. So that's very important. Like if you just put it random, if you pick and place, the default name. Sometimes you don't understand what the default name means and what actually that component is doing. So naming best practices, that's very important. And then maybe yeah, to keep performance up, you separate out the UI and the backend. Don't keep a lot of stuff on the UI. Otherwise, while loading, it will take time. Separate out the UI profiles and remote execute modules.
Mhm.
Let the UI do just the rendering stuff. So let's stick to that. And maybe when you're integrating API, try to see if the API is actually working. So you can maybe check on Postman if the API is up and running. Same goes if you're using some Excel formulas in your calculator or data workflow. Try it using Excel to see if the formula is actually working. So maybe once that is up, then you can go and integrate on your actual modules.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of good stuff there. So the first two things you said, the naming conventions and the separating the front end and the back end logic. We were talking to another one of our power users on Tuesday, and those were two things he said as well in terms of best practices was those
Yeah,
naming conventions. So it's great to hear you say the same, and it just really validates how important that is.
correct.
I think about naming conventions, right? It doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but when you're looking at the configuration and you're navigating through your workspaces and you're searching for modules and your or properties in your environment, it's really, really important to have that consistency,
Definitely, yes, yes. That's
you
very
know? And,
important.
and I think even, everyone, I don't know how you feel about documentation, but like the subject of like code, even code documentation has always been something people debate around in terms of the value of it, right? Like, I always felt that you shouldn't have to document what something does more so than you document why it does it, right? Why am
Correct.
I applying this logic? Because I'm going to write my code, or I'm going to, drag in my Encore components and build my configuration in a self-documenting way.
Definitely. If you're not wanting to document through typing, maybe you can just make a workflow using some PPT and make some columns and just show using some boxes or something, like how the flow of the your entire system is running. So like you're taking something from UI, putting it to plugin. So you can just make some UML diagrams and you can help. That definitely will help you, because you may get lost when the project is highly scaled up.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I think like you should just be able to go in, right? And if you can add that, great. If not, just seeing the names of things and like, this is what I'm calculating. And this is the name of the two things I'm calculating. It's very obvious when you look at my inputs are, whatever, pick first name and last name. There's no debate. There's no question of whether or not it's a first name, last name. Even if you call it FN and LN, it's shorter.
Yeah.
Some people like to type really short variable names. But then later on, when you're going to use FNLN,
Yeah. Definitely.
I thought it was interesting too. You mentioned about like using Postman to validate APIs, using Excel
Correct.
to validate formulas. I think that's a great piece of advice for people because it helps you to figure out where the issue lies. Is the issue in my
Correct.
formula? Is the issue in some other logic around my formula? Or, is the issue with how I configured my plugin? If you go into another tool and you validate it and it doesn't work, well, then you know that something's wrong with the formula, something's wrong with the API, rather than something's wrong with how you configured it.
Yeah, you just can't blame always to on Uncock, so you know where the issue is. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do your due diligence. I mean, it's a great advice, I think, to any engineer is, when you're working, do as much as you can to validate that things are working as expected and why there are problems, because otherwise you might, send a request over, you might file a bug, or you might pass on buggy code to or config to your QA team. And that's putting more pressure and more work on other people when, you didn't necessarily do your due diligence first.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important as developers, we take a lot of pride in what it is we're creating and, the work that we're doing, and we're putting in the best effort to make sure everything is working as expected, and the problem is truly not me. It is something else. And in fact, it turns out to be something else.
Yes. Yes. That's definitely important to do your homework first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. One other question, and then we'll dive in. This is just a fun one. Like, of all Encore has a ton of features. You've used many of them through your build, but is there one specific thing that's your favorite about Encore?
Oh, favorite. So for me, like all Uncog is favorite, but each component has its own unique feature, and every component is very unique and meets specific requirement. But from all other components, maybe I would say data workflow. It's really good. You can manipulate it in infinite ways. So the data workflow is something very favorite to me.
Yeah, I think that's a common answer I get because it is so powerful. Both
Correct.
what you're able to accomplish with it and the fact that it's completely visual. The two together is amazing. The kind of things that you can create with it. So, all right. So that being said, maybe you'll show us some good data workflows. So why don't we go ahead and why don't you share your screen and we'll start to go through your award-winning Uncork application.
Sure, sure. Let me share my screen. So yeah. Yeah. So let me know once it's visible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's up. So before we dig into, why don't you just do like a quick demo of the app again, just remind people, or for anyone
Yeah.
who wasn't here,
Yes.
what the application is.
Yeah. Let me take a moment and give a quick demo. So what I built for the hackathon is this mail application. So basically, what we do here is that one user can send another user internal messages or mails, or you can say mail or messages with some attachments, and you can maybe update stuff. You can create user, you can sign up, forget password, so those stuff. So basically, on this is the first page where you can sign in, you can forget password and sign up. So I have this is normal sign up. You give your name, password, you confirm password. So once this is done, you sign up, and you can always go back once you've signed up to log in. We have also forget password. So in case if you have forgotten your password, you can just type in your email ID, and it will send auto-generated email. So that email will have the forget password link. You just have to hit it, and you will be dragged into reset password. So let me show that page as well. So this is the reset password. So let's see if I type Ganesh. Ganesh is our user, so maybe he has forgotten his password. So you can just say you can enter his new password and confirm password. So once the password is updated, you will get updated, and again you can go to your login. So if you type your username and password and you log in. So once you have logged in, you have this main screen. So here, if you see that John is logged in with his username. So John can do three things. He can check his inboxes where he has received mails from other users. He can draft and send. He can also check his send box. So let's say if Ganesh has sent a mail. So hi John, this is a mail generated from Ganesh to John. So John will have in his inbox, and it will automatically have the date wherein is sent in, and you can go ahead and hit generate PDF. So generate PDF is nothing but it will just show how the entire view grid is generated on a PDF. So this is mails PDF. This is a PDF generated. You can go ahead and download and print it, and you can do your save it if you want. So this was the UI. Now maybe let's dive into the modules.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with sign in. So sign in. If you see this is username and password. So let's go to the sign in module. So this is a single page module wherein we have sign in, sign up, and forget password. And this has some basic CSS which we have used for this particular mod page. So basically, what happens is that this is login, this is sign up, and this is forget password. So basically, it's a one page module. We are just hiding and showing based on the button set. So if we are hitting sign in, this page will be shown up. Forget password. This on we are on the same page. Just we are hiding this particular panel and we are showing up this particular panel. Same goes with forget password. We are just playing with show hide of it. So we have once login. What we do in login is that okay, let's do the sign up first. So we are the user. You want to sign up. So you enter your name. These are normal text boxes. First, we have these two columns. We have separated up with left column and right, meaning left side and right side of the same column. It's two-part column. So we have name, password, and confirm password. So once user hits sign up, we run this data workflow. Data workflow verify passwords. So these are the two passwords, PSW2 and PSW3. This is nothing but these are the names which we have given, PSW2 and PSW3. So we just check if the two passwords are correct. And what we do for checking is that we just take the decision component and we map. If these two passwords are correct, we call the create user plugin. And we also show the user for some visual thing that with a pop message that saying that your sign up is successful. And if it is not, that password do not match, we just have to show this particular password error message that somehow the user was not able to log in. Maybe the passwords are not right. And yeah, once we have logged successfully checked, we run this plugin. So plugin, we have used the internal CRUD APIs to log in. So we have this CRUD operation and we have this data schema users. So schema users is nothing but a schema module. So this is a schema module. So we just have the name and password, which we are sending it from here. So name and password. So this creates a user successfully into an Uncoder database. So once user has successfully created, he can just hit this back button. This rule will trigger it back to the main page. So on main page now user has the login. He can just hit the username and password. So when he hits sign up, this sign up will trigger a check. So this check is important to map if this particular user and this particular password is correct. So what we do for that is that um, we take in all details. We pick this is a normal pick which we need to do,
Mhm.
and then we have filters. So filter will check based on the username, and next it will check on password. So eventually, maybe what we can do is that we can call some API to check these validations and all. But since it's a POC, we have done it on this page itself.
Sure.
So once the username and filter, so what will happen is that each username will have unique password. So always this value will be more than zero. So if it is not more than zero, either filter username is wrong or filter is wrong. So that we do with some decision making. And if once user has successfully checked, meaning the decision is giving more than zero, the size of it is more than zero, we go to the next page. And if not, we say either username or password is invalid. So this was with login. Now, if the user has successfully signed up but forget the password, he can just hit the forget password from here, and forget password will again trigger some rule, and that rule will not do nothing but show this panel. And on this panel we have this forget password thing. So here we show the email id where user can input his email id, and we have the send mail. To send mail we need this content. So basically this content is nothing but we have just given the training id hyperlink. So this hyperlink which we saw here, reset password, this thing. So this thing link will be shown up to the user, and this is stored in a hidden field, and we capture that hidden field in a plugin. So we are using this marketplace SendGrid, and we are calling it from the button click. So once the user has put the thing, his user and email ID, we capture that user and email ID, and we give the subject, content type from email. So this is a default email which we are sending from, and this is content which we just show from the hidden. So user will get some email in his email ID, and he can reset the password through this link, and once he has reset, he can again go to the login page, and he can check, he can go successfully sign in right now. So once he has signed in, he'll be on this particular page. So
Okay.
let's say if John has logged in.
Actually, I want to jump back to your login page. I love that you put all three on the same page and hit them and showed them. It just gives such a good user experience of being able to switch
Mhm.
between the panels very easily. I
Yeah.
am curious though. So look, I know this was built for a hackathon, and that means you got to move fast and you got to do things. But I am looking, and I want to, because a lot of folks on this Twitch are watching as they're building for enterprise grade applications. That
Correct.
the way you're storing passwords, you are
Correct.
storing plain
Yes.
text,
Yes.
right?
Correct, correct. That we should avoid. So that's very bad to store password as plain text. We need to encode it using some hash key or something, and store it as a hash instead of showing a plain text. Because this is very risky to store password. Anyone can just open up any plugin, and he can just dive into the plugin to check any other passwords. So it is a thing which we should avoid. But yeah, since this is a POC and just we are trying to build how Uncock can build things faster. So for
Yep.
now we have kept it as same. But yeah, looking forward, we need to avoid it. Yes.
Yeah. So let's think about. So is there anything features of Uncork that you can think of? You said creating a hash. That makes a ton of sense. That's a great solution. Do you know of Uncork features that allow you to create hashes like that?
Um, Hash key from directly. Right now, presently, I'm not aware. Maybe I need to do some kind of research. But yeah, there might be some tool which we can use it, or maybe we can use some external APIs to log in and sign up things.
Yeah. So you know what? So if you can go to the if you open up a plugin
Yeah,
for a second here, and then go where it says learn more, so you can go to the API documentation.
correct, correct. Yeah,
Okay. And then there should be an API in this list. Once it loads. All right. Scroll up. System transforms. All the way. I think it's all the way at the top under encryption, maybe. Let me. I'll pull. I'm gonna look at my end too. Create hash of pass
yeah,
string.
yeah. So we
I'm
have
sorry.
encrypt the file.
That's encrypt a file. Look at the one after that. Create hash of pass string. Cool. So this is actually for all the folks at home. This is a
Yeah,
function, an API that will do what you're saying, right? So you're
correct.
able to give it one of the hash algorithms, and the type of encoding you'd probably want. I mean, hex or base 64 both work here. And you'll see that there's an HMAC service name, right? So what you actually do is, if you go into, if you take this API, go into services administration. All right. It's on the right side. Services.
Yeah,
Cool. And just under type of authentication, the drop down type of authentication, there should be one called HMAC. There you go.
yeah,
That one, of course. Cool. So this actually allows you, so this is the service that you define. You put in a key. So any key that you want to use in order to create the hash, you put the key in there. and then you can actually execute that API that we just had open with the data you want and a reference to this service, and it will return you back a hash. So
Oh,
you
nice.
use this API, you could save that hash in the database, and then the next time they log in, you could run this again and then compare the hashes of the password.
Perfect. Yeah, this is something which I was not aware of. Yeah, thanks for
Cool. Again, yeah,
yeah.
this was a hackathon. It's amazing what you did. I just think this was a great opportunity for us to be able to talk about more and more of the features as we're going. So,
Yeah.
hey, everybody learned something new. So yeah, so we have an Uncork. You can hash a string. This is great for one for hashing passwords and things like that. It's also great for verifying requests. There's a lot of times where, let's say you're using webhooks. If an external
Exactly.
system calls in with a webhook, oftentimes that's an unauthenticated request because webhooks don't have an authenticated user. They're just pushing data. But you still want to be able to validate that the request came from a trusted source, right? So
Correct.
that this is the way where you can, take the hash, the private key from the external system, put it in Uncork, and then when you receive a request to Uncork, you can create the hash, as they describe, compare it to the one they sent over. So it's great for doing verification of API calls. It's great for storing sensitive data in the database, as long as you don't need to, decrypt it, and you can just use the hash. So,
Yeah. Yes, yes, definitely. I'll give a try someday on this. Yeah, I'll give a try.
all right, good stuff. All right, cool. So I just want to call that out. But again, love the login page and the start of the application. Let's jump into, let's continue along with your app.
Yeah, sure. Yes, yes. Yeah, so once we have logged in, we go to the main page. So yeah, main page is nothing but we have the main stuff where things are going on. So we have checkbox, draft, and send. So now again, these are the same thing like earlier. We are having the same panel. We are just showing. I mean, the same page. We are just showing and hiding the panels. So if you see, this is dashboard where the actual you can read the messages. Send message UI. This is nothing but where you can draft and send, and it's a send message. So everything is on the same page. We don't have to hunt to other models. So, but before we do that, we just have to pass the URL. So basically, URL is this. So, and here we are mentioning the username. So if you remember, when we are logging in, we have this particular to go to the next page. We have this particular concatenate of function or formula. So
Mhm.
here we are passing the username as well, and this username is nothing but the username which we are storing from here. We are capturing from here. So the same page on the next page we need to capture, so we can show the user specific pages. Like in this case it is John, and in this case it is Ganesh. So to do that, we have to use this Kelsey, and in Kelsey we do nothing but we pass it and we store it in a hidden component. So once we have done that, we have this Kelsey, and here we have nothing but this particular user schema, the same module. And
Yep.
schema user is nothing but the other one where we are actually storing and going to send messages to each other. So these are two schemas. One is just name and the password. The second is the one where we are sending the username to attached file and someone to CC about and to whom we are going to send it.
Mhm.
So these are two different schemas. So that all the things are hidden in this captured in these hidden components. And again, yeah, this is some basic CSS which we are using. So welcome this message and all this. And here on the type corner, if you see, we have this. Okay, we have this particular icon as well. So that icon and all this captured here.
Mhm.
And just click on icon, we have nothing but if user wants to update this stuff, like no change, meaning it will just close. Update details will just update, and logout will go back to the main screen. So all that stuff has been done in this particular
So is that
component.
just a drop down component?
Correct, correct. It's just a normal drop down component.
Yeah, I love that. Using a drop down as a navigation. That's very clever. I like that.
Okay, this is the normal drop down, and the values of the drop down we capture it here. So whatever the drop down, so rule after drop down. So if nothing has been changed, then we just hide it. So we have just clear, and we just hide it. Otherwise, in that case, we'll if to log out, then we trigger the logout rule. and if you want to update, then we update the initializer to update. So normal simple rule. Uh, and once this is done, we have this main thing. So we have dashboard where we can check from the inbox basically. Dashboard is nothing but this inbox. So what this thing is does is that we first call the plugin list dashboard. So list submission will call the dash. I've used this internal service to call list submission for dashboard,
Mhm.
and from your schema module we are capturing and all the other fields. And here, if we want to CC someone, we are just filtering on CC name and send to. So if you want to do that filtering, we can do that as well. Right now, I've excluded CC because I was facing some kind of issue. I need to check it. So otherwise, this is working. And yeah, we have this filter. So if you remember, we had this filter as well, right? So we can just filter on some name.
I got it.
Let's say Ganesh. So this Ganesh filtering will again be captured from this filter. So we have this
Can
small
you actually,
filter here.
sorry, can you actually go back to that plugin for a second? Because I don't know the way. So you use the exclude checkbox.
Correct,
I
correct.
love it. I use it all the time. Can you tell folks like who may not be familiar with that, what it does and why you would want to use it versus maybe deleting the row?
Yeah, exclude is nothing but for temporary we don't want to use this. But in future, if we want to use it, for now we can keep it exclude, and instead of deleting entire thing, we may not be aware like what exactly goes into it. So temporary, I've just excluded it. Whenever we want it, we can just again uncheck this and we'll have it.
Got it. Yeah. So it's almost like commenting a line of code out. You just exclude
Correct, correct,
now,
perfect.
but it's there for you later when you realize, oh, now it's time to add this back. Otherwise, you might completely forget.
Correct, correct. So all these checkboxes are very cleverly put here. So if when you require this plugin will not run if you don't have it. If you want to put in header, you can just check this header. You can keep it optional. So all this is a very easy to understand and we can use this whenever we want it.
Cool. All right. Thanks. That's helpful for folks.
Yeah. So once this plugin gets submission is that we also have this user details being called. So this user details is nothing but we get the module submission of the schema users and the name and fields. So basically this is important when we want to send to specific person, right? So like in this case, we want to send draft and send this list where we are going to send of all the users present in our application. So to do that, we call this user get list and we call a data workflow after it. So this data workflow is nothing but we are keep making a reference data. So from here we are picking the exact path of it, and we are just making column to array of the exact path, and we are just making array to column of that value. And this we will be using in future. Like let's say send to. So in this case, we will be capturing that reference data which we have earlier made, and we'll capture it to all the values we want to send. Like in this case, we wanted to send to let's say Ram. So that particular name has been populated dynamically. So if in the same time another user is getting created at some other end, and we refresh the page, we will see that particular name here. So that is for that reason we are calling that get users as well. So
Mhm.
that will help us to bridge the exact users list at the present moment. And yeah, this data workflow is nothing but we are capturing all the plugin list and we're storing to a hidden field. So
Mhm.
instead of giving direct hidden plugin component to VG, that is view grid, it is always I think it is always good to put hidden field in temporary as an intermediate step. So in case if you want to update something or some other function you want to put in, you can just delete this particular lag and you can put an that particular will go to view grid. So
Mhm.
instead of that, it is not mandatory, but it is a good advice I would say to put a temporary field. And in view grid, we have nothing but we are capturing that data, that username, CC, whatever the name we have stored in that schema, same name we have to give it here. And yeah, here is nothing but what user could understand. Like username that user end user will not understand. So we give it form your message and something like that. And yeah, this is nothing but a normal moment formula just to ensure that we have the time shown, like time and date whenever the user has sent the mail.
Yeah. Nice and human readable.
Yeah, correct. And yeah, we have used a small transform here. So yeah. So let's say transform send items. This is nothing but basic HTML for creation of a PDF. So these are just normal simple CSS stuff. And here, what we have done is that we have captured. So this is something which user could understand, and this is the same thing which Uncock understands. So from will be username, cc will be that dot cc, and your message is send message from screen one. So the same thing what for user and from Uncock. So that's the whole thing, and we just run this loop using this particular syntax.
Got it.
And yeah, there's one
Was this
more.
a, was this a marketplace template by any chance? I see
I'm
there
not
are
sure.
comments in there.
Yeah. So for me, I was doing something when I was learning, right? I had this particular thing stored on my
Okay.
user, so I just copied the same thing and just do a small manipulation here and there as per the requirements.
Oh, great. So you wrote that. You wrote all the comments and everything to help yourself out.
Uh, no, this was all by default, so I did not do much changes here. For me, what was important is like just two columns, and in two columns, I just have to show this particular
Yeah.
this thing, the rows.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Makes
three
sense.
columns, and in three columns, I need to show all the rows.
Right.
So this is all default stuff. Nothing much changes here. So let's come back to our module. So whenever user clicks on this generate PDF, that particular transform will be called, and this transform will call the internal transform, and we just have to give all these default settings, like the name, the transform name, and all the module name, and
Hmm.
it will generate a PDF, and that PDF we are capturing and we are opening it. So in this PDF URL, this will just open on a new page. So open send PDF, we just click it. That when it is required, when we make it required. So whenever it is available, we'll open on a new page. So it is better to open on a new page than the same rather than on the same page. So user will not lose like where he was on the current page. So he can just open a new page, and from there he can download or print, or he can just close it. And in send message is a very simple thing. We are doing send item from the reference data. We just type the message and we are creating a send message. So this is nothing but create module submission. And from screen one, it will be stored and we are storing all the details here. And once it is sent from here, we just capture it in the send items. So plugin send items will get updated, and
Hmm.
here we see all the details from whom we have sent and all the other fields, and the module ID and the username, because we don't want all the users to see like from they have sent. So we just have to filter it on the username.
Right.
And here we have dynamic grid. So in this case, I would use the view grid. So I thought to use a dynamic grid here. So dynamic grid does the same stuff like view grid. Only thing we are just look and feel will be slightly different. And dynamic grid is always more powerful. So if you want to do enhancements or scalability, this is definitely one I would advise on. Here also we are just keeping the same things like your message and item, the same thing which we do on view grid. And this is the reference data. So in this case it is VG data, and in this case I believe it was VG data 2. So the different two hidden fields based on the dynamic grid.
Right.
And yeah, we have the same stuff here, filter and search boxes. So this is normal search, like normal search filter. Like we have this formula, use number search, so it will search. This search is basically that user search. Like okay, we just have one mail here. Okay, let's say if we had hey here or something different. So this particular thing is not present, so it will not show. But
Yeah.
if we had hi and hello, if you want to search on hi, only that one particular will be populated. So that is done using this particular filter.
Cool. It's number search. Yeah. Smart usage of
Yeah,
the formulas there.
yeah. And update is nothing but when if user wants to update something, he can just update his username or something. So this is normal update details we call, and we call the update data. So we retrieve all the submissions. So we get all the submissions, and we want to update a name. So once user types a name here, we pick the submission ID and the user. So and we
Hmm.
say edit user, we just have to update the password and the username, updated username. So updated username will be get replaced on username.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, that was the three panels, which do all the whole stuff. Let me just minimize it. Yeah. And reset password is nothing but basic password reset thing. So again, we get all the details, and once we have got details, we run this particular data workflow. So in data workflow, what we do is nothing but we pick the raw data from here, which is the name and user ID, and from here we pick that specific ID in which it is getting stored, that submission ID. So we change this to raw, meaning we change to column to array. I just create index so that we can merge on that index value. So once we have merged, we have all the three things in place in the same I would say in the same object. So we have username, password, and that particular index. So we do the filtering, like which user wants to update his particular password. So once he has done that filtering, we have this that particular filter available. So the it will be always available on zeroth index, since we are right now it is not in place, but in future we would want to have the same user. We don't want the two users have to have the same username, so that filtering will be done, and we will capture the submission ID, and
Mm.
based on that we will update that particular submission ID and store in a hidden field. And again we'll check here if the two passwords are same or not. So we'll do a small check, and if that, we'll say that user does not exist. And here in here we have the verify passwords. Again we do the verification to check if the two passwords are same or not. And once that is done, we update the plugin. And update plugin, we have this password updated.
Cool. I saw you have go back to one of your data workflows. I think
This
anyone. I think, and it looks like you have an enable manual layout on.
correct. Yes, yes.
Do you always use manual layout?
Yes. I prefer this because if you just pull up something, it will just relearn itself. So once everything is done, you will want to avoid this, so that to look and feel will be slightly better. So now if you see, it looks slightly better to understand. But once you're editing it, I will always keep it on. So if you just plug and place this right now, it will just keep on moving and it will reshuffle itself. So I would prefer to enable this.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I love everyone's got their own
Yeah.
style. I remember when we added that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. There was so this was awesome. So is that the whole application?
Correct. Yeah, that's the whole application. Yes.
I mean, I don't want to say just the whole application. That's amazing. Again, for a hackathon, what you were able to build was super powerful. I do want to use it as an opportunity. We talked a little about hashing. Want to use it actually as a good opportunity to bring up another feature of Uncork, one that has a lot of potential, but admittedly doesn't get a lot of use, and
Correct.
it's the browser storage component. Are you familiar with browser storage?
Browser storage, like we have this browser event and all.
No, it's actually a dedicated component. So under the data and event processing, yeah, browser. Yeah. So browser storage. So basically, are you familiar with local storage in the browser? The concept of local.
No. This particular field I've never used, so I'm not
Got
aware
it.
of this
So
thing.
cool. So this is a good thing to bring up.
Second new thing to learn today.
So browser storage is actually it's like storing submissions.
Okay.
It's going to feel similar to like if you were configuring a create module submission or a get module submission, but rather than it storing the data in the database, it stores the data local to the user's browser,
Oh, okay,
right?
got it.
So I'm thinking about, as I was looking at, you use the query string for the username, right? And then
Correct.
you have to, if you had multiple pages, now you were able to get everything onto one page, which was awesome. But if you did have multiple pages, you probably would have to pass that query string from page to page to page. Whereas
Correct.
with this, what you could do is after you log the user in, you could store their password, sorry, not their password. You could store their username in browser storage. So then it's in their browser. And then when you load the page, you can use the browser storage to get the username from the storage. So then you don't need to pass the user ID and the URL, and you can just pull it from the browser. And then when the user logs out, you can clear the browser data. So it's almost like cookies, but
Got it.
a little bit more modern of an approach to some cookies.
Yes. I was thinking on the same thing. Like every time I have to pass this thing, and it is not a meaning good thing to do like this. So this is something again I would like to work on browser storage. Maybe I was not aware of, but yeah, definitely I would like to look into it now.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot. Look, again, I said it doesn't get used a ton. I wish it was used more. It was actually originally built to support offline mode. So
Okay.
what you can actually do is, this might be an interesting thing for a V2 of your messaging app, is if a user doesn't have an internet connection,
Correct.
they can still store data in their browser using browser storage. And then when they have connection again, you could send it. So there's actually, like I saw you use get data and you used underscore query, right? Those special variables.
Yeah.
There's another special variable called get browser. And
Yes.
currently, all that's inside of it is whether it tells you if the user's online or offline, like if they have internet or not. So you
Okay.
could, if the user doesn't have internet, but they had internet, so they're able to pull all the modules down onto their browser. So now they can navigate without having to, make a server request to pull back the module JSON. Then you can detect that they're offline. You could actually save all the messages in browser storage. So someone can like queue up a bunch of messages while they're on a plane. I don't know, even though a lot of planes have Wi-Fi now. And then the moment they come back online, you can build a process to send all their messages that they created offline.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely give you a try on this. Yes.
Yeah. It could be fun for the username or even for like offline messaging.
Correct. Correct. Yes. Yes.
But
Sure.
either way, with or without it, amazing job. Congratulations again for winning the hackathon. This is such a cool application. You've shown so many features of Uncork between submissions and reflexive logic on the front end and authentication like query string, filtering, data workflows. You said you love a data workflow, and I could see why. You did a lot of cool stuff with the data workflow. So
Correct.
thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for showing everybody this application and kind of opening up and pulling back the curtain to the magic that you showed everyone the other week. So thanks again.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks a lot to you, to Danny, and to entire Angkok team for bringing up this community hackathon. Definitely helps us to, dive deep into and do something more from ourselves. That definitely helps us. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I assume we're going to have another hackathon someday. I really hope you submit another entry whenever that day comes. And I wish you the best of luck in hackathon 2 and all the best of luck as you continue to build applications with
Yeah.
Uncork.
Sure. Sure. And thanks for your valuable tips as well. The SHA and this browser storage. Something new to learn tonight.
All
Yeah.
right. Awesome. See, hey, look at it. You're going to go right back to configuring Uncork. That's passion. I love that you have it. So thanks again, Pushparaj. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone, for joining. And we'll catch you next week on Tuesday.